A crucial source of evidence in any new appraisal of Africa's past are archaeological discoveries being made along the Niger near Timbuktu. The Niger has always been the lifeblood of this region, just as the Nile was to the eastern Sahara. Its waters provided fish and allowed agriculture to develop. The river was a long-distance trade route connecting the myriad communities along its banks. The Niger River rises in the hills of what was once the ancient kingdom of Fouta-Djallon, 150 miles from the West African coast. And but for a quirk of geology which caused the river to flow inland, the Niger would have been a very short river instead of one of the world's longest. Nearly 3,000 miles long, the river first flows north towards Timbuktu. It then curves eastward before turning southeast through Nigeria to the Atlantic Ocean. Between Djenné and Timbuktu, the Niger is yielding new revelations to equal the discovery of the manuscripts. From as early as 500 BC, this area was one of the most densely urbanized parts of the world, rivaling other early urban civilizations such as Mesopotamia. Doug Park is part of an American team that over recent years has extensively surveyed the region's wealth of archaeological sites. When we met, Doug was about to begin excavating a huge city site 10 miles south of Timbuktu. So how typical is a site like this in Mali? How many might there be?
Well, there is a lot. And there are accounts that say that if someone from Djenné wanted to send a message to a village or a city a few hundred kilometers away, he just had to shout, and the message would be carried across the floodplains and along the Niger until it reached that village, because so many people were living in such proximity. Yeah.
So the picture at that time was just of an urban landscape, all along the borders,
exactly.
The borders of the Niger River.
Exactly.
So read this landscape for me.
Here, what you look for are these gray areas.
Yeah, where it looks kind of earthy.
That is this massive pottery carpet. It spreads around an area somewhere between 70 and 100 hectares.
Which is enormous.
It's massive. This city rivals the size of the great cities of Mesopotamia, like Ur or Uruk.
So how does that compare to modern Timbuktu?
Well, to the old Medina of Timbuktu, it's maybe twice the size. And if you put that in comparison to the size of Timbuktu in regards to the rest of the world's cities during the Middle Ages, Timbuktu was somewhere around twice the size of London.
Timbuktu is twice the size of London.
And this site is twice the size of Timbuktu.
Wow. One fascinating fact to emerge is that these people lived together peacefully for centuries. These densely packed, interdependent communities each had a specific skill base. Some were farmers, others fishermen. There were potters and metalworkers. Their activities cleared forests that once covered this landscape. Much of the pottery carpeting this site served the same purpose as our tin cans and plastic bags. Doug has described a cityscape whose architecture would have looked much like the villages still dotted around Timbuktu. It's just the density that's changed. It's amazing to learn that right here on this spot, there once existed a civilization 2,000 years ago, as old as Christianity, the size of which rivaled modern Timbuktu over there. And in terms of its antiquity, Timbuktu and the manuscripts dating back to the 11th century are beginning to look relatively, well, modern.
Here is showing in Sankore, Timbuktu, the pyramid, and in Guatemala, the pyramid, showing how it left Africa and went into the Americas.